Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Well, it's about 10 a.m. and I'm going to re-record this training module because I forgot some things I wanted to share with you guys. So I wanted to talk to you guys, especially all you new guys, about the importance of understanding TCPA laws and DNC laws. More and more people that are getting on the phones to set up appointments, make sales, are finding themselves in trouble and facing these crazy lawsuits and demands for violations that in most cases a lot of agents don't even knew they were violating. And for years I've been coming on my channel talking to you guys about the importance of following these rules, because one of these violations can really put you out of business. In fact, in the last couple of years, I've been holding centers accountable for these type of unsolicited phone calls, and I've been able to settle them for thousands of dollars. In fact, in the last 2 weeks, I settled with an agency that sells medical supplies, and this company had called me 44 times unsolicited, trying to sell me some medical supplies. Well, I was able to document every single one of these illegal calls to my private cell phone, because again, this is a private cell phone number that nobody has except for my family, very close friends and associates. Other than that, it's not published. So I document all of these illegal calls, and then I send them a demand. In this particular case, I asked this group for $35,000, and we can just settle this out of court, simply for following up with me, calling up with me when I never asked for this kind of information. And I was able to settle for more than I had originally asked, because not only did they call me 44 times, but after I called them and told them about their violations, they kept on calling me. Their CRM wasn't in compliance. Again, they didn't know what they were doing. They were just loading up phone numbers and cold calling me. And I was able to settle for several $1,000s, the amount of money that most people, especially just getting started, don't have. So today's training is really designed to help you guys understand the importance of this. Now, how does that affect you? Well, as an agent, you're going to be buying leads, whether the leads are purchased by you or somebody provides you these leads. And a lot of these people that are getting in trouble, one of the things that I've discovered is that they're calling on old leads and getting in trouble. And it's very common to see. When you buy your leads, as you can see here in the example, here's lead one. I get all the person's information, but then there's a request state. From this request state, you only have 90 days to legally call these people to solicit the goods and services that you're offering. In my case, I sell final expense. So from the moment in time that this person requested the information, whether it was off my Facebook ad, my radio, TV, direct mail, whatever that stamp is, I have 90 days where I can call to these people and solicit the goods and services that they were asking for. That's 90 days. Now, what happens after 90 days if these people are on the register of the do not call registry? Well, those are violations. So imagine there's 330 million Americans, and they are, have phone numbers, cell phones, home numbers, 330 million. Out of these 330 million, over 50% of those are registered numbers on the do not call registry. So imagine here we got 150 leads. Half of these, I bet, are on the do not call registry. Half, which is a number that is very scary. And now imagine if you're calling on lists like these and you do not know when the origination date happened. Now what? This is where you can get in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. This is where if you cold calling them, text messaging them, and it's been over 90 days, you can get in trouble. And that, trust me, is not a good thing. So today we're going to talk about what the rules are. And I'm going to go over the Federal Trade Commission website. And you guys can see up on top there the website for the Trade Commission. And this is under Q&A for telemarketers and sellers about DNC provisions and TSR. And we're just going to go right through it. Okay, background. 1, what is the National Do Not Call Registry? The National Do Not Call Registry is a list of phone numbers from consumers who have indicated their preference to limit the telemarketing calls they receive. The registry is managed by the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, the nation's consumer protection agency. It is enforced by the FTC, the Federal Communication Commission, and state officials. Why was the National Do Not Call Registry created? The registry was created in 2003 to offer consumers a choice regarding telemarketing calls. The FTC's decisions to create the National Do Not Call Registry was a culmination of a comprehensive 3-year review of the telemarketing sales rules, as well as the FTC's extensive experience enforcing the rule in previous 7 years. Calls and organizations covered by the TSR. Number 3, what calls are covered? The do not call provision of the TSR cover any plan, program, or campaign to sell goods or services through interstate phone calls. This includes calls by telemarketers who solicit consumers, often on behalf of third-party sellers. It is also includes sellers who offer to provide, or arrange to provide goods or services to consumers in return for some type of payment as part of a telemarketing transaction. 4, what type of calls are not covered by the National Do Not Call Registry? The do not call provisions do not cover calls from political organizations, charities, telephone surveyors, or companies with which a consumer has an existing business relationship. Number 5, what area codes are included in the National Registry? The area codes in the National Do Not Call Registry cover 50 states, so it's nationwide, guys. Number 6, do the do not call provision of the TSR cover calls soliciting money for charities? Charities that are calling on their own behalf to solicit charitable contributions are not covered by the requirements of the National Registry. However, if a third-party telemarketer is calling on behalf of a charity, a consumer may ask not to receive any more calls from or on behalf of that specific charity. If a third-party telemarketer calls again on behalf of that charity, the telemarketer may be subject to a fine of up to $51,744 per violation, guys. Number 7, do the do not call provision of the TSR cover tax-exempt organization? Entities that have been granted tax-exempt status under the Internal Revenue Code are not necessarily exempt organizations for purpose of the National Do Not Call Registry. The FTC has successfully challenged the status of purported nonprofit organizations whose role, in fact, was simply to generate leads for other firms, which then charged consumers thousands of dollars in fees for their services. Number 8, do the do not call provision of the TSR cover political solicitations? No, political solicitations are not covered by the TSR at all, since they are not included in its definition of telemarketing. Number 9, if a call includes a telephone survey as a sales pitch, is it covered? Yes, callers purporting to take a survey, but also offering to sell goods or services must comply with the do not call provisions. But if the call is for the sole purpose of conducting a survey, it is exempt. Now, number 10, guys, this is what applies to all of us here. How does the established business relationship provision work for a consumer whose number is on the registry? Listen carefully. A company with which a consumer has established business relationship may call for up to 18 months after the consumer's last purchase or last delivery or last payment, unless the consumer asks the company not to call again. In that case, the company must honor the request not to call. If the company calls again, it may be subject to a fine of up to $51,744. So if you have a valid client that is current on their premium payments, you can call 18 months and not have to worry if that person's on the registration of do not call. Now, look at this. If a consumer makes an inquiry or submits an application to a company, the company can call for 3 months. Once again, if the consumer makes a specific request to that company not to call, the company may not call, even if it has established business relationship with the consumer. A consumer whose number is not on the national registry can still prohibit individual telemarketers from calling by asking to be put on the company's own do not call list. So you can cold call, you can call them, but you need to make sure that that person's not on the national do not call registration. Now, this is where the problem comes, guys, especially for all you new guys. Your uplines are telling you to cold call people. They're giving you lists of phone numbers, and you don't know when that list was originated. And you're cold calling these people, soliciting the goods and services that you provide. And these are the type of people that on a daily basis that cold call me and solicit me are the ones that are telling me that I had asked for some information months or years ago. Now imagine in my case, I have a very private cell phone and I don't give it out to no one. It's very private. But the people that owned my phone number before I had it might have asked for some goods and services from other products. And here I am receiving calls from companies that have 2, 3, 4-year-old leads, and they're calling my personal phone. They are still liable because they knew better that they needed to check that phone number after 90 days from the origination date. Now, this right here is a free tool for all of you. It's called Aperion. You can check 10 national DNC numbers per hour for free. This is accurate. But I also want to let you know that in our country, there's 12 states that have their own state-specific DNC, and Aperion will not check on the state-specific. So I'll go ahead and comment in the section here the list of those 12 states in a little training video, and you can see those 12 states that have their own specific DNC, and you got to check that as well. The last thing that you want to happen is that you end up with one of these lawsuits or demand letters from a litigator demanding thousands of dollars because you cold called their phone. I have seen in the past 3 agency friends of mine that went under simply because they didn't have this down and they lost their businesses. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, and all 3 of them went under. You definitely don't want this. So making money over the telephone is very lucrative, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can cost you your business, and any gain that you made, you will lose. So I encourage you guys to do your research, do your homework. And if your upline manager is forcing you to cold callers, just giving you lists and not providing you these TCPA and DNC training guidelines, I would run. I'll give you a quick story. I have a friend of mine that was reaching out to me, asking me about these compliance questions. He was working for a Medicare outfit, and his boss, the owner of that call center, would just give him lists and have him cold call all those Medicare people. And he was telling them, hey, by the way, you know, we shouldn't be cold calling these Medicare people. We should be checking the DNC list. And he was met with resistance to the point where he was terminated of his position, all because he was resisting not to call on those old leads. Luckily for him, he was able to file a wrongful termination lawsuit with his boss, and he was able to get compensated. But again, there's a lot of centers and companies, they'll just sell you the leads, won't give you the request date, or worse, won't train you. And then those people are dealing with some major issues. The lawsuits and this type of violations are just out of control. TCPA lawsuits from last year to this year are up 40%, and a staggering, I believe, over 60% in the last 2 years. So it's not if, it's only a matter when you can face yourself with a litigator that's going to take your lunch because you did not follow the rules. So once again, guys, if you're new to the business, you're buying leads, or someone's giving you leads, make sure you know when they requested the information, and also make sure that that phone number's on the DNC before you call if that request is over 90 days. When you get referrals from a friend or a family that gives you a name or a number of some friend that wants insurance, be careful. Check that phone number before you call that referral, because that person could call you out on calling them because they didn't give you permission. Be careful. So with that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this training. I hope it helps you. Go to the comment section here, and there'll be more videos of training there that you can rely on and learn more from. But with that said, I wish you guys the best and see you guys at the top. Peace.